So we continue here in the 8th Pirkei in the subject of Bechira. So last time we saw that the Rambam really gives us his version of what he sees Bechira and the way we perceive Hashem's you could almost say involvement in every single action and every single occurrence in nature. So we had the kalam that say that there's a new rotzen every single second. There's a new rotzen, and Hashem really there's no continuum in nature. So there's every single second there's a new rotzen, and Hashem is constantly involved in every single part of nature. Therefore, when anything happens, being that there's a constant rotzen and there's a constant will of Hashem that continuously directs things, therefore there's really no room for man's free will. Because the world is ran by Hashem's constant new updated will in every single second. The Rambam, on the other hand, sees it very differently. The Rambam sees Hashem having created a certain system, and in that system there is no updated rotzen. Hashem created the system, and the system runs basically based on the code that Hashem put in place. And now obviously Hashem is mechadish the world, b'chol yom tomid. Hashem gives constant new, Hashem has a rotzen that this bria should continuously go. Obviously that rotzen is always there, and without Hashem wanting the world to go on for a second, it wouldn't go on. So let's not make a mistake that according to the Rambam, Hashem created the world and put it on autopilot and went on kaviyachol with his business. No, obviously Hashem is constantly mechadish b'tuvei b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh b'reishis. There's a constant rotzen of that nature should run based on the formula and based on the code that Hashem put in place all those years ago. So I just want to maybe clarify, maybe that wasn't, because when we say the word autopilot, we have this idea that you put on autopilot and you walk away and you let the machine walk on its own, operate on its own. There's obviously no such thing. Hashem created the world based on a certain code, and Hashem's rotzen is every single second that this bria should continue based on that system, and that's how it goes. Now there isn't an involved rotzen in every single part of nature. There's a greater hashgacha klalis, and that is that Hashem obviously observes every single thing. Another point that we shouldn't make a mistake when we say the word autopilot is that we know that Hashem is mashgiach min hachalonos meitzes min hacharakim. We know that every single thing that you do, that Hashem sees and is aware of, and so that's obviously we shouldn't assume mistakenly that the Rambam is implying that Hashem is not involved or engaged. Cholid v'chas. Eine Hashem pekuchos and all massive bnei adam. This is not even a question. The question is, in the rules of nature, in the relationship of Hashem's constant rotzen to create, is that something that is on a certain automated system that Hashem wrote code and Sheish Shmei Bereishis, put that in place, and that is the rotzen of the bria, and everything that will ever happen is in that, besides the anti-system, which is free will, which is what the Rambam says. So according to the Rambam, in this world of that is run on the code and based on Hashem's will. So therefore, every single part of nature will never fail to do what it's meant to do. And choik nasan, what do we say over there in Kiddush Levana? What do we say? Choik is man nosa lahem shalei shanu es tafkidam. So the choik is man nosa lahem shalei shanu es tafkidam. That is sort of Hashem put into the code of nature that everyone should do what it's meant to do, and they will never fail and they will never change, because Hashem's rotzen never changes. Hashem's rotzen is not susceptible for change. Hashem kaviyachol as a being, because Hashem and His rotzen are not two separate things, right? Hashem, us, we can be separated from our will, we can be separated from our intellect, we can be separated from our attributes, whatever our midas are. All these things are separate, right? We all have sort of some split personality disorder where we all have many parts of our personality, and they are not necessarily, inherently one thing. You can separate these two things. But by Hashem, there is obviously, Hashem is a achdus apshuta. Hashem is one unified being, and there is no limbs and organs and different parts. Therefore, Hashem and His will are one. And just like Hashem can change, Hashem is not susceptible for change. Hashem's will doesn't change. And if Hashem's will doesn't change, then Hashem won't change nature because it's because Hashem doesn't change. So therefore, what the Rambam says is that nature never changes. Nature is a constant. And even when there are nisim, it's not that now there is Hashem's will of how nature should run, and now Hashem changed it. No, the nature is constant, and the nisim were written into the code in Sheshis and Bereshis, and therefore, therefore these things don't change. The kalam, on the other hand, so the kalam, on the other hand, don't believe that. The kalam believe that there is no constant element of nature at all. It's all based on the ratzon. Everything. It's based on a constant, new, updated ratzon, and therefore, a nes and teva, there absolutely no difference between the two of them. Because the fact that water is fluid, liquid, is not solid, that's a matter of that's what yesterday. Now by Kriyas Yamsuf, let's say, it's not a new thing. Now, meaning it's not a bigger nace than water flowing, because every single second is a new nace. Every single second is a new creation. Now the creation was this, tomorrow the creation is that. There is no dependability in nature, and there is no really, even according to the Kalam, there is no cause and effect in nature at all, because there's a new ratzon that's created every day. So therefore, there is no cause and effect, because every second is a new creation, and every second the world is created based on Ratzon Hashem, and Ratzon Hashem is all over the place all the time. Therefore, there is also very little room for human input, because so this is where we go back to the Rambam. According to the Rambam, there is the laws of nature. The laws of nature are set up to be constant, and now even the moifsim are constant in the laws of nature. The only thing is that in this system, Hashem created an anti-system, and that's called man, and man's free will. And man's free will, Hashem put into place that he alone, the only part in the entire nature that is about Bechira, is a person. And that is so and in that, Hashem gave a person the liberty to do whatever he wants in the Bria. So, therefore, when a person acts, he acts on his own. He's not compelled. There is no individual ratzon that tells him what to do. And a person can do whatever he wants. The kalam, on the other hand, the way they see the world is that there's a constant ratzon, and therefore, when a person does anything, being that there's an updated ratzon on every part and every element of nature, then a person really doesn't have the power to do anything, because ratzon Hashem is what does every part, what operates nature at every single second. An individual ratzon operates nature. According to the Rambam, obviously the general ratzon of Hashem operates nature, operates the entire machine at every second. It's almost like the electricity going into the general system. So obviously the flow of ratzon Hashem to be mechaya the Bria, that's something that no one's disputing. That's not something that we're even talking about, because obviously that's in place according to everyone. And so Hashem is mechadsh b'tuv b'cholim tom namas b'reish. The only question is, to which degree? Is the world in general, is there an updated ratzon about every single second? Is there a ratzon Hashem about every particular aspect of nature? And that is what the Kalam believe. And if you say so, then there is no real room for any human input or human ability to change, and there is no cause and effect at all, because every single second there is a new ratzon, and then Hashem is really creating the world every second based on what He wills at that point. And human ratzon obviously can't conflict Hashem's ratzon. And according to the Rambam, on the other hand, Hashem's ratzon is mechadish, basically the machine that was built on this blueprint, this constant laws of nature. And in that also there is a person that has the autonomy, sort of, to do whatever he wants. And Hashem, that's how Bechira works. Now, let's pick up Klolei Shel Davar. So we read this already last time, but it wasn't Masudin. Klolei Shel Davar, to wrap it up. Shatamen, we believe Kishem Sherotza Hashem Shiyah Adam Zokav Koymer Rochav Chazav Balad Boys. Just like a person looks the way he looks, and this is the way Hashem willed it. K'moy Kain Rotza Hashem Shiyah Mesnoya, he should be mobile and he should have motion. V'noch Metzadatzmoy. Whatever he does, he moves on his own, he rests on his own, he does whatever. V'yasa Pulas Al Pi Bechira. And whatever action he does it based on his own will. Be'en Machrich La'aleim, without anyone compelling him or forcing him to do anything. And no one withholds anything. So if you want something, you can do the way you want, and no one is compelling you to do so or not to do so. Do whatever you want. Just like it says in the true book, which is the Torah, obviously, that a person is like one of us that knows Toivera. That is the Pasuk in the Pasuk. Just like Hashem and the Malachim Kaviyachol, they have das and they know Toivera. So too, a person, if he eats from the Eitz Das, he will also have das. So, but the Rambam says, don't make the mistake. That's why we have Targum. Shnai Mikra Becha Targum. Why do we have to read it? Someone is Mefarish, Metargum Pasuk Medata is a Badai. Someone that's Mefarish a Pasuk based on his own mind, he could be, he's foolish because you don't know, he could say Shtosim. And the Gemara says that even more, then it could be a Mecharaf and Megadav. So here is maybe where you get to the borderline of Badai and Mecharaf and Megadav, because Hashem says he's going to be like, so the Targum splits the Achad and Mimenu. Not that Hashem says that a person is going to be like one of us. No, he says, a person is going to be the only one. He's going to be special. He's going to be special in the entire world of nature. Why? Mimenu ladas toivara. That he will know toivara inherent from himself. He will have an intuitive way of seeing toivara and acting accordingly. So there's a beautiful test case for how Targum switches the pshat and the pasuk. We could be done, if this would be Parshat Bereshis, we could be done in greater length what exactly the motive of Onkelos to say so is, but for the point that the Rambam is trying to prove, it's beautiful. So he says, so the Targum explains, not that it's that what is that? No. What's that? That a person is, he is the only one. He is the sole part of nature. That he is unique. Means the person has potential to be unique. In what way will he be unique? In what way is he unique? He has the ability to subjectively, in his own mind, in his own experience, he can intuitively be masik toivera, and he can do whatever he wants. Because an animal, the reason why every part of nature does what it's supposed to be, it all starts with the fact that it doesn't have theoretical thought. It doesn't have, obviously monkeys and tigers and gorillas, they know what's good for them or what's bad for them. They know, that's why they do what they need to do. So they were programmed, but without any abstract knowledge. They know whatever they needed. So they know what's in danger, they know what's good food, they know what's bad food. That all they know. But that's not das. The Adam is yochid. He's miyuchid. He's ka'achad. What is he unique? In the way that he's yodea toivera. He has abstract knowledge of toivera. He knows what's good and evil, and therefore he can act on it independently and make whatever decision. And because the person could make his own decisions, he can make his own decisions because he has abstract knowledge, and he knows good and evil, and he is not compelled either way, one way or another. Therefore, there's a danger that he's going to eat from the Eitz HaChaim, and these are the hemshech of the Pesukim. Says the Rambam, now that we established that already, in Parshas Bereshis, that Hashem is made on Yitzir Kapav, Hashem is made on this Adam that He just created. Hashem is made that He is miyuchid. He is miyuchid in the way that He is the only part of nature. Right? So back to looking at the global picture of nature. And the global nature, the entire nature is constant. And there's a hashgacha klalis. And there's a ratzon klalis that nature should work based on the constant laws that were written into them by Sheshmei Bereshis. The only anti-system is the Achad. The only thing that works in his own dependent will is Adam. Because he's Yodei Toivera, and he can act in the ways of Toivera without anyone manipulating him, and that's what makes him very, very dangerous. It makes him dangerous, we need to pay special attention, but us, the way we should see ourselves is not as dangerous. We should see ourselves as empowered and responsible, and we have to understand the potential of what we have, and then we have to act accordingly. And because this is necessary in a person's existence, because we have the option of Bechira, and that is part of our nature, and that is who we are. Therefore, that's why you have to tell the person, you have to give him a Torah. Meaning the whole reason why you could give him a Torah is because he's Yodei Torah. So if he's Yodei Torah, if he can make his own decisions, therefore we need to educate him. Because you don't have to educate apes and trees because there's no reason, it's not necessary. But because a person, based on what he knows, he can make his own decisions, so therefore he should be educated. And therefore you have to tell him, he should be commanded, right? He should be warned. right? He should be commanded what to do. He should be warned what's going to happen if he doesn't do, and he should be punished and rewarded, right? All these things are direct results of the fact that a person's actions are by free will. Had there not been free will, then all these things are either redundant or or unfair, unjust, like the Rambam said, as we discussed a few shurim ago. And this is the right, and this is righteous. And it's also the person's incumbent upon the person. It's the person's responsibility that a person, being that you are in charge of your own destiny, being that you control the person that you are, being that what you are is a direct result of the choices that you made, therefore it's incumbent upon you to be mechanech yourself. And you should do the right actions until you attain certain virtues. And you should stay away from the bad things that have a detrimental effect on your being, and that they will, sort of debase your character. So even if you did engage, if you've been an alcoholic, or you're addicted to whatever it is, and or you're stemming a bad habit, being that you have free will at every single second of your life, every time your heart pumps, you have free will. Therefore, and no one's compelling you, even you from yesterday are not compelling you, definitely not astrology is not compelling you, and the will of Hashem is not compelling you, because you, in your code, you're written in as someone who has free will. Therefore, you can do whatever you want. So today, you have, get up in the morning and get your act together and do whatever you're meant to do. No one's manipulating you otherwise. And I can't change myself. I am the way I am, and I can't change. So says the Rambam, no. Every single day, every single situation, every single person could change from good to bad and from bad to good. Everyone, no matter how big of a tzaddik you are, you could turn in. You could no matter how big of a rasha you are, you could do tshuva, and you can change. You can change. It might be very hard. You might have to do extreme things, like we saw in Pirkei, but whatever it is, you have free will at every day to do whatever you want, and no one is manipulating you or controlling you or compelling you to do whatever it is. And because of this, of this Indian, because I believe, says the Rambam, because the belief of the Torah, because of the belief of the Eibishter is that every single Yid has free will, therefore he gives him mitzvahs and averes. Therefore he gives him a Pirkei. Therefore he gives him a Shemona Prakim. Because the Torah and Hashem and the Rambam and all Chachmei Yisrael believe that every single Yid could always change. And every single Yid could always become a better person. And he is responsible to make himself a better person. And the fact that today he isn't a good person is a direct result of himself. Now you could blame whatever you want. You can blame your childhood, you can blame trauma, you can blame whatever you want. But all that doesn't excuse the fact that today, now, you can control your life. And you can make the right decisions. Now, what the right decisions are, that's different for every person every day. So everyone has to make different decisions. Depends how sick they are. They all have to go to the Perek Dalet clinic and see how far to the extreme they have to go, on which parts of their nature they have to work and how they have to work on it. But it's incumbent upon every person to make these decisions, to change the trajectory of their life. And it's your responsibility because it's in your hands. You have no one else to blame besides yourself. And so that is sort of the central thesis of the entire Torah. And you are the only one in nature. You're unique in that way. So that is, from now, the Rambam is going to deal with psukim and parashas in the Torah that are mashma not like that. Should we go further a little bit? What do you guys say? A little further? Let's go a little further. So now we're going to deal. So now we established that, the Rambam established that a person is a Baal Bechira, a person is controls his own being, and therefore he has the responsibility and the ability to change himself, and that's why he has mitzvahs and averes. That's why he has charvoinish. That's why the Torah, right? The Torah assumes there's a certain pattern in the world of good people, bring good on themselves. Bad people bring bad on themselves. And if someone has bad, we assume that that's because he brought the bad on himself, and so on and so forth. All these things are obviously central to the idea of bechira. Now we can identify in the Torah a few people or societies that don't have bechira. And that is a big problem, because so even if we'll say that, but the Rambam, when he was trying to point out why Bechira is so important and so central, he said that it's unfair, right? Part of saying that the world doesn't have Bechira is that it's an unfair world. There's no justice in the world. You can't give me schar v'oinish if I don't have Bechira. So we have to understand, is it that all people have Bechira? And if we find people that don't have Bechira, the logical conclusion should be that these people don't deserve any punishment or reward. Right? Because if Avraham Avinu had to have been Avraham Avinu, then he doesn't get any points of being Avraham Avinu. Just like Gabriel HaMalach doesn't get points of being Gabriel HaMalach. So too, if Avraham Avinu didn't have free will, he shouldn't get any points, and Paroi shouldn't get any punishment for being Paroi. Right? Because if Paroi is compelled to be Paroi, and Avraham Avinu is... So they're both the same. They're both just doing their thing. So that's it. Let's see. We have one more area to explore. You can see in the Psukim that some people think Hashem goes around Mary, that Hashem compels, Hashem forces certain people to rebel and to do averes. And that Hashem forces these people to do not the right thing. And that's not true. Hashem never forces a person to do not the right thing. So we have to explore this because a lot of people went through the sugya and they came out with their own conclusions. So I'm going to say this outside and then we'll read it fast inside. So the Rambam, the part that we'll see today, deals with two cases where the psukim imply that people don't, that Hashem predicts that people will do bad things, and that obviously creates a big problem because then we have to ask, did these people have a choice or not, right? So one of them is, the Brisbane Absarim, Hashem tells Avraham Avinu, you should know that your offspring, they will be gerim, right? They will be foreigners in a foreign land, and these people will subjugate them, and they will torture them for 400 years. Now, says the Rambam, okay, so now the Mitzrayim, Hashem foretold that they will torture the Yidden. Now, when the Mitzrayim did so, did they have free will? Pashtas not. Hashem said that they're going to do it. Therefore, says the Rambam, why did the Mitzrayim get Esamakis? Hashem forced them to do whatever they did. In the same way, the Torah says, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu that after you die, after Moshe Rabbeinu dies, Klal Yisrael is going to worship Avodah Zarah. Now, ask the Rambam, 100 years later, Moshe Rabbeinu died. Klal Yisrael, Tkufas HaShoftim, they're worshiping Avodah Zarah. Did they have free will? Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu that it will happen. Had they not worshipped Avodah Zarah, then what would have happened? It would have turned out that Hashem's prediction was wrong, which is not likely to, not a likely possibility. Therefore, in both of these cases, Hashem foresees that Klal Yisrael will worship Avodah Zarah, that the Mitzrayim will subject the Yidden to terrible labor. Therefore, the Mitzrayim should be off the hook. And Klal Yisrael should be off the hook. They don't deserve any punishment. They didn't have free will. Because the Mitzrayim could turn around to Hashem and say, you forced me to do this. Because you told Avraham Avinu 400 years ago that I will do this. Says the Rambam, this is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because Hashem never said that so-and-so will do, so-and-so Egyptian will do kach v'kach. And by the way, Hashem didn't even mention that it's going to be the Egyptians. So the Egyptian society as a culture, so the Egyptians come and they tell Hashem, you told Avraham Avinu that says Hashem, according to the Rambam, no I didn't, I never said that. I said that there will be a people that will subject Klal Yisrael. Did I say it to you? Even if I said Mitzrayim, which he didn't. Did I say that you Mitzri will whip that Yid that day? Did I say that you're going to throw his baby into the water? No, I never said that. Therefore, when you did it, you didn't fulfill my will. You did your own evil act. And that has nothing to do with me. And so that is the first thing. Let's just read this fast inside. Avraham Avinu, Hashem tells him, why did Hashem punish the Mitzrayim? Because Hashem foretold it already. And therefore, they have to do it. They're compelled to do it. The answer is, so Hashem says no. Because that it's as if Hashem says that in the next 100 years, tzaddikim are going to be born and Rishonim are going to be born. Right? So that's it. Let's say a Navi gets up and he says, Koyim Hashem, in the next 100 years there will be born tzaddikim and Rishonim. Comes the Rasha and he says, Hashem, with the fact that I was a Rasha, I fulfilled your will. Why? Because you foretold, you said that there are going to be Rishonim. Hashem says, no. I'm looking at the entirety of nature. The entirety of nature says that people will be tzaddikim and people will be Rishonim. Do you individually have anything compelling you to be a Rasha? No. And therefore when you are a Rasha, that's out of your own evil. That's out of that's your own doing, it's your own action, and therefore you're responsible for it. Now, the Ramban and the Ravid in Nechus Tshuva have a big problem with this. And they both say that the logic over here is not the Ravid obviously says it in more colorful terms than the Ramban. But, the Ravid said there's a whole bunch of nonsense and kamat shem divrei naris, says the Rambam. So, what's the Ravid? Says the Ravid, I'm sorry. So the Ravid's taina is, and the Ramban, Chumash, also in Parshlach Lecha, they both explore this and they say that it's not fair because when an individual Mitzri, when he threw this Jewish baby into the water, right? When he turns back to Hashem, did he fulfill Ratzon Hashem or not? End game, end of the day. The answer is yes. Now you're right. You didn't tell me. You didn't call me by name. True. But the fact of the matter is that when I tortured, when I subjected the Yid now, I did your will. Because you don't disagree. Hashem told Avram Avinu, Va'avodim v'inu oisam. Now, I was v'inu oisam. Now, you called me by name, you didn't call me by name, it doesn't matter. The fact is that I carried out Ratzon Hashem, and if I carried out Ratzon Hashem, then I did your will. Then you have no right to punish me. So that's the Ravid and the Rambam, and the Ramban Stein and the Rambam. That if your question is, that how could you punish a person if he was compelled to do Ratzon Hashem? The Ramban says that the necessary element is not if the person was compelled or not. If this person specifically was manipulated or not. That's not the important ingredient over here, says the Ramban. The Ramban says that the important ingredient is, did this person act in Ratzon Hashem? Did he, end of the day, did he fulfill Ratzon Hashem? If he did, if Hashem predicted it, and now this person was the one who picked up the mandate and he did it, then you shouldn't punish him because he did Ratzon Hashem. So therefore, says the Ramban, that, and we're going way over time, and we're going to have to stop here. So the Ramban says no. That in order for someone to do, so the Ramban disagrees with the Rambam's take, and the Ramban's hesber is that when a person does, in order for the mitzvah not to be punished, they would have had to do there are two rules in order for the mitzvah not to be punished. First of all, and this is obviously, this touches on a much deeper question, and that is, why do we punish bad people? So the Ramban says that the reason why we punish bad people is not necessarily for the evil that they did. It's for the evil that they are. Mic drop. Okay? It's not for the action that you did, it's for the evil person that you are. We punish that. That is the problem. When the Mitzri does whatever he does, not because Hashem told him, because this Mitzri doesn't know what Hashem told him. The Mitzri doesn't know what Hashem told Avraham Avinu 400 years ago. He's evil because he's evil. And therefore, when Hashem punishes the Mitzri, it's because he's an evil person. Now, if the Mitzri would get up and say, okay, Hashem told me to do so, I'm going to follow. Hashem told Avraham Avinu. So, first of all, it would be you could see that, because then he would only do the letter of the law. He would subject him to hard labor. He wouldn't throw his babies into the water. So these two things are interconnected. Being that the Mitzrim did this out of their own evil. And the proof is that they did way beyond what Hashem told them to do. So therefore both of these things prove that the Mitzrim are bad and evil independently, beyond what Hashem told Avraham Avinu. And therefore, they deserve punishment. They deserve punishment, A, for what they did beyond Avraham Avinu's prediction, not prediction, Hashem's knowledge and what he told Avraham Avinu, and B, for the fact that it is their own independent, subjective evil that Hashem is punishing. So that's sort of the Ramban and the Ravid's take. But back to the Rambam, let's just finish because we're learning Rambam. The Rambam says that the reason why the Mitzrim can't claim that Hashem, that they shouldn't be punished because Hashem foresaw it, what the Rambam says is that Hashem never foresaw that you are going to do anything. And therefore when you did it, you are evil in your own right. And your action is evil on its own right. That's what the Rambam is saying. Because you didn't do anything because anyone told you, because no one said you're going to do anything. So you don't have the time. According to the Rambam, this whole sugi doesn't begin. Hashem never mentioned you. So when Hashem says that you are going to do so and so, and then you do so and so, fine. Then you have a time. I didn't have another option. Because obviously if Hashem says I'm going to do so and so, I'm compelled to do so. And I can't do otherwise. But the Rambam says Hashem never mentioned anyone. So therefore, Hashem said a general idea. Just like you say, a general concept, there are going to be people that are going to be, every person could say that in the next 10 years, they're going to be tzaddikim born and be Rishayim born. Now, could a Rasha come and say, being that statistically there is going to be a serial killer, I'm allowed to be a serial killer because this is the prediction of nature? That's ludicrous. Obviously, you don't have to pick up the mantle and say that you're going to be the serial killer. And if you did, you're evil, and no one ever forced you to do so, and therefore you deserve, you deserve the punishment for it. So that is the Rambam's idea. Let's just read this inside and we'll stop. Ach lo yalpi dibber zeh mischai ploni arali Yisrael kaponim v'le ploni atzadik li yisadik al kaponim. Even if Hashem predicts that they're going to be tzadikim rishon born. Now kol mi shoyim emra harei zal pi b'chiraseh. Any mitzri that did a ra did it out of his own free will. V'lu ratze li yisadik al yochel v'emenei b'adoi. No one could stop him. He could be a tzaddik, and therefore if he's a Russian, that's a b'chira that he made. V'chen kol tzaddik ilu ratze al yeroshe v'emenei b'adoi. The dibber of Hashem was never given about Yechidim what they are going to be tzaddikim or Rishayim. And it states that every person kept his free will intact, besides a para, which we'll discuss later. So therefore, every mitzvah, just like every person in the world, just like we all know that there will be tzaddikim or rishayim in the world, and no one is compelled either way, and therefore, whatever, if a person is a tzaddik, it's his own credit and his own responsibility, and if a person is a rasha, it's his own. So too by the mitzvah. Hashem, yeah, there will be a guy that will subject the people, but it's not on an individual level, and therefore, every individual still has his free will intact. You know what? Let's just go further. Let's just. And it says by Moshe Rabbeinu that Eibush tells Moshe Rabbeinu and Vatshuva is ba'atzma. This logic itself is also going to answer the other pasuk. Hincha shoychiv maseicha v'kama amazav v'zonach l'heinech haaretz ki ein havrish ben zeh ben omer she'aved v'dezor nasa b'kach v'kach she'im omnam le'yeh sham la'olam ish yavid yom levatala v'tena klal is kulan levatala. The Rambam says a very interesting thing. The Rambam says that if a person is a Mechal Shabbos, so a person could tell Hashem like this: I'm Mechal Shabbos, I didn't have a Bechira. Why didn't I have a Bechira? Because in the Torah it says that there's a parsha of a Mechal Shabbos. Now, according to the Torah, will there be a Mechal Shabbos or not? Obviously, because if not, there wouldn't be a parsha in the Torah, Mechal Shabbos. So from the fact that it says in the pasuk Mechal Mois Yumas, it means that there will have to be a Mechal Shabbos in history. Because if not, it would be completely superfluous. So from the fact that you have a parsha of Chil Shabbos and that he gets skila, from the fact that you have a toichach that says that people will do Averis, so now when I did Averis, I did Ratzon Hashem. I did something that Hashem predicted and I had no choice. Says the Rambam, you're a pathetic human being. Obviously you had a choice. No one ever forced you. You're worrying about right? The fact that there's a parsha of skila in the Torah does not mean that what does it mean? It means that Hashem foresees that there will be people that will have individual free will, and everyone will do whatever he wants based on his free will. And some people will likely have a tendency to be Mechal Shabbos, and some people will be tzaddikim. Now, every person has his own free will, and if he makes a choice, he's responsible to live with it and die for it, really also. But it's not something that you can ever claim that you were compelled to do, because the Torah never said this on an individual level, only on a general level. And there's really a deeper way of understanding this, and that is that involves already a whole different shmuz, and that is when Hashem. I don't want to go there. Okay, Messiah B'Tov. Zatz gebenched.